I am replacing my words of concession with an uncompromised and unapologetic call that we count every single vote.
Uncompromised and unapologetic call that we count every vote. That was after Congressman Ron DeSantis was declared the winner of the gubernatorial race in Florida. So, how is it that Democrat nominee for governor of Florida, Andrew Gillum, withdrawing his concession earlier today as the Florida recount begins? My panel ready to battle it out, Chris Hahn, along with advisor to Trump 2020, Katrina Pearson. All right, guys, how is it that this happens? I'm replacing my words of concession with an uncompromised and unapologetic call. Now, I think, Chris, I'm going to go to you first, but please let's save time. We all agreed that every vote needs to be counted. We don't need a filibuster on that. But why is it, Chris, that in two counties in Florida, Broward and Palm Beach, that we keep having new ballots just showing up? How does that happen?
Look, all I could do is take the word of the Secretary of State of Florida, who was appointed by Rick Scott, who's one of the candidates in this race, whose office today said there was no foul play in Broward or Palm Beach. Rick Scott should actually be thanking the incompetence of the Broward County Commissioner, who designed a ballot that caused 25,000 people in a heavily Democratic district not to vote for U.S. Senate in that race. If there's any wrongdoing there, that was it, and it was not intentional, I don't think. But if the machine recount doesn't count those, people then just skipped over it because of a poor ballot design, and that might just make Rick Scott the U.S. Senator.
But that's not the question I asked you. Go ahead, Katrina.
Well, look, if we're talking about whether it's incompetence or fraud, you know, Judge, I think there could be a little bit of both here. Particularly, you heard Gillum choose his words carefully. Every vote should count. Now we're hearing that illegals are voting. And if you look at what happened in Broward County today, they have illegal ballots mixed with provisional good ballots. So they don't know which one's which in these boxes. You had a citizen just stumble upon a Broward County election equipment, including a box of provisional ballots that was completely unattended that were turned in today. I think it's pretty obvious what's happening here. Yes, we could do a recount by machine, but the goal here is to find enough votes to get the margin close enough to do a hand count, because as every good socialist and communist knows, it's not about the number of votes that get to determine the election, it's those who counts them, and that's what they're going for.
You know what, Chris, what about the fact that, hold on, what about the fact that this woman, Ms. Snipes, was called out by a court of violating two laws, almost suggesting that she be dismissed, and she is again at the center of either incompetence or, at worst, fraud? Who's a Democrat finding more votes for Democrats enough to overturn election calls?
Yeah, so again, Katrina said they're finding ballots. That's all nonsense. That's not happening. The Florida Secretary of State, a Republican appointed by Scott, has dismissed that allegation. Okay, I think that this woman definitely made some mistakes in this election when she designed the ballot poorly.
You're talking about
the voters who elected her should reconsider. Brenda Snipes, yeah, and I think that the voters who elected her should reconsider sending her back, because clearly she can't design ballots, and that's probably something that is very important and will probably be the difference in this election. But all of these allegations that are being thrown around are just not founded on anything. The Secretary of State and the police that were sent there by Governor Scott both said that there has been no wrongdoing there.
Have they even done an investigation? Come on, Chris. Chris, they haven't even done an investigation.
They were there.
They're doing the investigation.
Hold on. It is the job of the Secretary of State to investigate.
Really?
They're absolutely doing the investigation now. And here's the thing, Judge. We have a situation here. This is not Broward County's first election. This is not her first election either. So she just suddenly did the wrong ballot? She created a bad ballot? No, that's not what's happening here. They're not even reporting the numbers to the office in the required amount of time. They're not being transparent here. Again, all of the other counties can seem to manage to get this done, but they can't. And you have to pretend to not really know what's going on in order to make the argument, Chris. Something is not right in Broward County, and they need to get to the bottom of it. Wouldn't you agree?
Right. This is a nice made-up scandal, Katrina, to distract from the president's miserable defeat on election night last week.
Okay, all right,
He
Chris,
lost
let me ask you
7
this.
state houses and almost 40 seats in the House of Representatives. And this is a nice distraction. I don't know how it's going to end.
The
I think
president
Scott will
had
probably be
a
elected.
wonderful,
But,
successful
nice
midterm election.
I'm going to pull your mic, Chris. When I tell you to stop, I want you to stop. Now listen to me. You said his miserable loss. Bill Clinton lost 52 seats midterm.
That's right.
Barack Obama lost 13 seats and 63 seats, I think, in 2010. And then this president lost 6. You want to call that a miserable loss? You are so wrong. Now keep fighting.
He lost. There were 350 Republican losses around this country in the most gerrymandered map that we've ever seen in the history of this country. Okay? So for the Democrats to pick up almost 40 seats and flip the House of Representatives and only lose maybe 1 or 2 seats in the Senate in the worst map they will ever face, it's a miracle, and it's a crazy victory for the Democrats.
That was basically the average. The fact is, Democrats severely underperformed in an election where 88% of the nightly news coverage was negative towards Republicans, towards the president. They were supposed to gain seats in the Senate, and they failed miserably.
And thank you both.
What do they call?
Good night, and thank you both. Now, you're not used to seeing this guy up like this guy.